Welcome to the third episode of Tales of Old, brought to you by Read to Me TT and Plantain. This is when people like me tell you about our adventures, or at least one of our adventures that we had when we were children. They may be a little different from what the sort of things you do now, and hopefully it'll be interesting and a little bit funny. When I was quite little, my parents moved into a new housing development called Coconut Drive in San Fernando. Because it was new, there were very few houses on our street. There were only about, say, 4 or 5 houses. And the rest of the area was trees and tall grass and, well, bush. In those days, there was no YouTube videos, there were no video games to play. So most of playtime took place outside. And because we lived at the bottom of this hill on a dead-end street, most of the play took place outside of our house. My 2 older brothers would play in the street with their friends. It happens that most of the kids on our street were also boys. I think there was just one other girl who was my age. And so the boys would all be outside riding their bikes and riding down the hill on box carts and picking fruit and generally having a really good time. But I was not invited. Because I was younger and worse yet, a girl, they wanted no part of me in their game. And there was this one game that they would play called Tarzan. Really, all it was an elaborate catch and rescue game. But it was a game that I wanted to be part of more than anything. So I would sit at the side of the road and I would watch them play and I would beg to be included several times for the day. Now, my mother really wasn't on my side with this because she thought the Tarzan game was too dangerous, but she got tired of all the begging. So one day she said to my brother Ian, "Y'all have to let her play." Needless to say, he was not pleased, but mom's word was law. So holding my hand, grumbling and stooping all the way, he took me into the circle where the game started. Now, the guy who played Tarzan, he was a little older, a couple of years older than the rest, and he was also tall for his age. So he was quite imposing. And this was no nice guy Tarzan. If Tarzan caught you, you got tied to a tree in an empty lot, a few lots up from our house, until the end of the game, until somebody rescued you while Tarzan was off looking for other victims. He could also do the Tarzan yell. I don't know if you all know the whatever, however it goes, right? He could do it really well. So he was a very convincing Tarzan. And although I wanted to play, I was terrified of Victor when he was Tarzan. So he closed his eyes and he started to count and we ran off in all directions to hide, my brother dragging me by the hand behind him. Now, bear in mind, I'm only about 5 years old at the time. So we run off into the tall grass and he tells me, "Lie down there." So I lie down and my brother flops down on his belly next to me. And I am barely breathing because we can hear Tarzan moving around and people getting caught and all sorts of things happening. And then all of a sudden, something starts like pinching me in my stomach. It itched and it hurt and it wasn't stopping. So I kind of crawl a little closer to my brother and I whisper, "Something's biting me." His response was, "Shh, you want us to get catch?" And then he pushed me down further in the grass. Now, I didn't want to get caught. So I put my arms between me and the ground and I stayed where I was as quiet as possible, squirming all the while because this thing kept biting me. Luckily, the game did not go on too much longer because Victor's mother called him home. And as soon as they announced that the game was over, I jumped up and pulled up my t-shirt and my stomach was a mess. So then I looked down on the ground, ant's nest. All this while, I am lying down in an ant nest. So scratching and trying not to cry, because even though I was hurt, I wanted to play again. We head off home with my brother in front looking very sheepish. And it wasn't until later in the night when my mother was giving me a bath that she noticed I had these welts all over my stomach. Needless to say, my brother got into a lot of trouble because he chose to continue playing the game instead of taking me out of the ant's nest. And it hurt, and my mother put calamine lotion on it so I would feel better, and she told me that I was very brave. But I knew I wasn't all that brave, because anything was better, including lots of ant bites, than getting caught by Tarzan. And that's my story. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.